Hey everyone, my name is Daniel, and in today's video, we are going to test the limits of Power Apps Copilot. And we're going to do it two ways. One is in the home page, the home screen of the Power Apps, where you see the Copilot. We're going to test the description over there and as it goes through the wizard process. And then secondly, when we are inside the studio, the actual Canvas App Studio, over there when the Copilot shows up, we're going to test its limits over there as well and see how it's able to go ahead and either edit existing settings or give us new controls added over there. And even though this is a fun little video, you might be surprised as to what it can and cannot do. So stick around, this is very important. But first, here's my intro video. So let's get started. And here is the first phase of my Copilot testing, which is right on the home page of your environment. We are going to use this Copilot and give it a description to actually go ahead and build that Canvas app. So right over here, okay, I'm going to actually go and put this text. I'm going to say, manage inspections with the ability to take pictures. That is my natural language explanation of the type of Canvas app that I want. And I'll go ahead and click on go. And now it is actually taking us through the wizard process, all right? It's actually a couple of steps, but the very first step over here is to actually go ahead and create your Dataverse table. And I found this very interesting because over here we could actually do some manipulation, and I also saw some limits. So right off the bat, I always noticed that you can only create one table. And just to prove it, you see on the bottom right, I'm actually going to say add a new table and call it notes. And I'll go and click on send. It is going ahead and working on it, is actually doing some thinking. But when it comes back, it says, would you like a new table? If so, click restart conversation in the top right of this chat window. Otherwise, let's continue working on your existing table. What it's basically telling us that, hey, I can only do one table at a time. That is my current limitation as a Copilot. So which means you cannot go ahead and build two tables in the same wizard process when you're going and using Copilot. So right now, that's the one limitation, all right? Okay, so I actually just want to go and take a look at what is the data that already provided. Give us an ID column, which is great, inspector name, inspection, location, and picture. And if you haven't already noticed this, if you take a closer look at these icons, it's these icons that tell you what type of text is actually stored in this column. So for example, this inspection ID and the inspector name and the location, it's just got an ABC, which means those just handle your simple text. Inspection looks like a calendar, which means it actually takes calendar type of content. And over here, the picture one is just an earth, which basically means that this is not really a picture where you'll see some thumbnails. It is just a hyperlink, a URL. So keep that in mind. Next, I'm going to go ahead and give it a more detailed description. Here's what I'm saying. Add a choice column and name it inspection status and add the following choices. Now, this is very detailed. Let's go and see how this Copilot responds. So I'll go ahead and click on this go. And now it says it's working on it, which means it's thinking, its wheels are turning, and then immediately after that, it will go and say the inspection table has been updated. And now if you notice over here, I actually have a scroll bar. So if I go and scroll to the right, a couple of things. First of all, right over here, you see that is an icon to show that there are choices out over here. And it automatically went in and added some choices. It gave us a new, in progress, on hold, completed, and new. So it gave us 4 different choice options. Neat thing is that you see the ellipses, which is the 3 dots. If I go and click on it, it gives me the option to view the column. And as I view the column, right over here is where I can go ahead and make some changes. The most important option I want to call out is this checkbox right here, because by default, you can only go ahead and select one option from the choice. But if you go ahead and select this checkbox, you are now going to allow multiple choices. So this really helps you to plan ahead. Like this one important thing of the wizard, which is kind of hidden inside the ellipses, you need to be aware of that because you might want this for your app itself. And this is where that setting applies, all right? So I just thought I'd call that out over there. One more thing I want to do is add another choice type column. And this is what I'm going to say. It says add 2 time type columns and call it arrival and departure. Now I'm just intentionally doing it because I see this date time. Let me go and see if I want a very specific time type column, what kind of response do I get? So I'm going to go and click on send now. It says it's working on it. And then any second it should go and tell me that the inspection table has been updated. There you go. It said the inspection table has been updated. and another scroll came in. So if I go and now scroll to the right, this is what happens. Now the time type column also is basically a calendar type of column. So that's why you see this calendar icon. But over here, same thing. It's for the arrival and it's for the departure. Important thing to note over here is that if there is no additional options to make changes, then you don't see this ellipsis one. What I mean is, see in the inspections, we actually had an option to go in and view the column and make these changes, these property changes. While the arrival one and the departure one, it does not have these ellipses, the 3 dots. However, you can still click on any one of them and select the view column, and at least you can go and see some of the properties of it. You may not be able to go and make any changes to it, but at least you can go and see those properties. An important thing to call out. All right, so the last thing that I want to do over here is really test the limits of how much sample data it can provide. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say add data or refresh data and add 100 rows. So I'm going to click on go, and now it is really thinking, because now it actually has to go and get some more data for us, make sure this is good data, and it's going to go and update it right over here in the view. What I don't know is, can it actually go and give us 100 rows? That's what I'm really trying. So I think that's why it's really thinking along, because it needs to go and get all of that data. And here you go. It says, here is the updated inspection table with refreshed sample data. Now, if I go all the way to the left, we have this inspection ID. So instead of me counting manually, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and there you go. 50 is the limit that I am saying so far. And I'm saying that now because I am in the March of 2024. For this month and this year, 50 is the max that it's giving me. It's possible that it might go and actually change it in the future, but as of right now, this is the max information that it's giving me. And it's a pretty good starting point, especially when I go into my Canvas app and say I want to go and put some galleries and I want to test some galleries. I've got good data already ingested into my Dataverse table as I go and start building it. So here was just a test that I did directly in the wizard process of the Copilot. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and select this create app. Let's go inside it. It's going to say, thanks, Daniel. We are creating an app for you. And once this all gets completed, we will be in the studio. And in the studio, we are going to mess with the Copilot over there. All right, so we are inside the Power Apps Canvas Studio. Right over here, I see welcome to Power Apps Studio. And on the right, I see my Copilot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on skip. And now what I want to do is I want to keep everything over here as is, but I want to start adding and really start testing how this Copilot over here inside the studio really behaves, all right? So I want to keep things as is because I want to build on top of that. So here we go. What I want to do is on the section over here, I'm going to go and say, add a new blank screen and call it home screen. Now, this is me doing it using natural language because this is the language that I can think of as I'm communicating with this Copilot. So I want to start this way, but you will notice that I'm going to start tweaking it just a little bit. And I'll tell you what those tweaks are as we get along, because yes, we want to test its potential, but we also want to be a little friendly and use the language that it will understand. So right now, as you can see, this is not bad. This is something that I would just think of right off the bat, saying, add a new blank screen and call it home screen. So I'm going to click on send over here, and now it says working on it. Now, as that is happening, watch on the left side because it is going ahead and now adding directly a home screen. I didn't have to do anything. And that's an important thing to point out because all I did was I just used natural language and say, hey, add a new blank screen and call it home screen. But do you notice how many clicks it saved me? And just to prove a point, let me show you that. Right over here on the top left, I would first have to click on it, which is 1 click. Then go and click on blank, which is 2 click. Then right click on this thing and renaming it. That's 3 clicks. And then after that, I would actually have to go ahead and type that in. I'm not even counting how many clicks I'm doing over here to type this name in, but you get the point. So we've actually saved ourselves over 5-6 clicks by putting in a natural language text, and the Copilot inside the studio automatically went ahead and created that screen for us. This is a very important thing to point out, how easy it makes our life. All right, so I'm going to go and delete this off. What I also want to see is on the right. When I go ahead and give it the natural language text, it comes back and says, sure, this change was made. And then it kind of gives you this row, almost like a bullet point. The bullet point is, what did it do? It went ahead and created a home screen. It says home screen added, and beneath it is an undo. That is also important to know because instead of you deleting off from here, if you didn't like it, go ahead and use this undo over here. Now, there's no requirement for you to do it, but it's best that you do it from the Copilot side because it will actually keep track of that. So as an example, I'll go and click on undo. And when I go to the left over here, I see that the home screen has disappeared. I've gone ahead and added that again. And just to make sure, yes, the home screen comes up over here. Now what I want to do is build on top of this and start making it a little bit more challenging for Copilot to see what kind of response does it give you. So here we go. I'm going to say something like this. Add a vertical container, set its X and Y as 0, set its height and width flexible. This is asking a lot. At least when I first tested it, I really thought this is asking a lot. But keep in mind a few things. I've got my home screen selected over here, which is why in my description, I didn't have to go ahead and say which screen it was, all right? I just said this statement, assuming that it'll do it directly in that screen which is selected. But I'm not 100% confident if it's actually going to keep track of all of this. Because let's face it, up over here, I just asked it to do one thing, and it kind of gave me one bullet point. So in this case, let's see what happens, all right? So I'm going to now go ahead and click on send. I can see that it is working on it. But what I'm interested to know is what is it's going to generate off over here. And my gosh, did you see that happen really fast though? But it actually did everything. First of all, it went ahead and added this container right over here, and it is going and filling it all the way up. But right on the right side in this conversation, you can see that what I asked over here was actually broken down into 3 different requests. So add a vertical container, container 1 added. Set it X and Y as 0, X change to container 1, Y change to container 1. And it says container 1 because that's where the container 1 started. It started at 0. Also, it has show more. So let's click on that. Height change for container, width change for container. I mean, do you see what all it is doing over here? Again, I just went ahead and added some natural language text over here, but it went and actually broke it down into what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different configurations. Now, I'm not even going to go and count how many clicks this has saved me. But am I starting to make sense over here? Is that how many clicks it has saved is? And when you start communicating with it, use this natural language, break it down into small sentences, even though it's part of this one ask. 3 sentences together is basically just one ask. But break it down into small sentences and it successfully does it. But let's continue, okay? So what I want to do is now add this other property. It's always a subtle one, but I want to add it. What I'm saying is set a gap of container 1 to 20. And this container 1 is me taking this actual name over here. Now, container 1 name, the name of this property has got a capital C, but I'm just going to leave it as a lowercase c, but I'm going to make sure that it's got the 1 and container all together as one letter. So let's go and see what it does. All right, so I'm going to actually go and click on next or send. It says it's working on it. And if everything goes well, it'll actually go and complete that successfully. So here it says, sure, this change was made, gap changed for container 1. What I want to do is actually expand this property over here. And right over here, you can actually see that that gap has changed to 20. Again, all done using natural language. But now that you and I are getting a little excited, let's push this thing's limit, the Copilot's limit. So now I'm going to say container 2 and add 2 horizontal containers inside. Also, what you've noticed is that in this time, I deliberately put the container's first letter, which is C, as a capital, just to mess around with it. I'm going to go and click on send over here. It is going to start thinking. It is going and generating it. Okay, so it came back with an error. It says, I couldn't find container 2. Why? Because there is no such thing as container 2. This is container 1 over here. If I even went and did a search, I said container 2. You see no match found. I have to be at least honest with it. What I actually meant to do was say inside container 1, because that's what we want to do is inside container 1. And it says add 2 horizontal containers, all right? So I'm going to go and try to put in 2 more properties and more controls inside it, again using natural language. Going to click on send. It is thinking, it is generating it, and we just need to keep an eye on this left side over here. And there you go, it did it. Inside the container 1, it went in and added a container 2 and a container 3, all again using natural language. And on the right side, it's telling us, sure, these changes were made. Container 2 was added, container 3 is added. Isn't this exciting? Because now we are really pushing it and it's working. So let's take it up another notch, all right? I'm gonna go and try this one over here. Watch this, all right? So I'm gonna say inside container 2, that's one over here on the left, container 2, add text label, set X and Y as 0, which basically means that it's going to go ahead and hopefully fill up this container. So let's say this is container number 2. It's on the left side. So hopefully it should come over here on the left side. Set the text as inspections and fill color to blue. Text color to white, set its height and width flexible, and align text to center. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think I'm pushing this thing's limit. I'm not even 100% sure it'll do this, but here you go. I'm going to click on send, and it is thinking. It says working on it. Let's see what happens. All right, I'm really interested. And wow, it's actually finished it over here. But let's just process what happened over here because it happened too fast. Let me go and zoom out a little bit. And so it shows up on this side. And on the right, it says, sure, these changes were made. It's already showing me 3, and there's 6 more, which means that all this text that I provided, this natural language, actually got converted into all of these actions. So first things first, label 1 was added inside container 2. Good, thumbs up over there. X changed to label 1, Y changed for label 1, which means it started from the 0, 0 axis right on the top left. Text changed to label 1, which is perfect. Inspections came in. And over here, fill changed to label 1, which means this thing went ahead and I did the fill was to blue. Color changed for label 1. The text color became white. What else we got? The width changed for label 1, which was the flexible height, and then the flexible left. The only thing I did not see was the actual text. It did not align that to the center. But that's fine because the text alignment, I can just come over here, click on center, and we are done. But just to get all of these, how many clicks has it saved me? All I had to do was this type of natural language discussion with the Copilot, and it just did it. So now also let's add a few subtle things. The padding function over here, which is basically this gap area over here, which is inside container 1. I want to go and add that padding to say 16. I go and click on that, and it is going and working on it. And right over here, see that gap? It automatically went and added to give this kind of pop effect, a 3D effect, making this app now look very modern too. I'm all doing this just by natural language. As we continue on the right, I'm going to say inside container 3, add 2 vertical containers. So I'm actually focusing on this over here, container 3. I'm going to click on send. Again, it is working on it. Once it completes, any second now we should see some activity happen over here. It automatically went and did it. Now watch what happened though. There was a slight hiccup. My containers, I asked it to be vertical containers. What it did was it actually went and made them horizontal. But that's an easy fix. I can go and change that, click on container 5, go ahead and change that into vertical, and it went ahead and just took care of that as well. So I'm pretty happy with the way this is taken care of. Nothing that I have to be too concerned about. For the container 3, I'm going to also go and tell Copilot to just set the fill portions of container 3 to off, which means it will actually go and now put, clear off that section over there. Made it nicely so that now inspections is all the way into the middle because I want that gallery to be filled a little bit more while these 2 containers over here are kind of collapsed a little bit. Now we've added the text. Let's take it to the next level by adding a vertical gallery. So here's what I'm going to say. Add vertical gallery in container 4 and add the inspections for items. Set fill positions to 0. Container 4 is right over here, all right? So which means I'm going to go and now click on the next or the go. And it is going ahead and now waiting right over here. It went ahead and added my gallery. And in the gallery, I've already gone ahead and added that inspections table that we created through the first wizard. This itself has again saved you so many clicks. It automatically went and did that. Copilot did that for you using natural language. And so that was inside container 4. In container 5, I'm going to say add edit form, set data source as inspections. So we're going to actually have an edit form show up on the right too. Granted, it's not too clean, but at least you're getting the point over here. We can go ahead and mess around with this. But do you see how awesome this is? Adding stuff just by conversation. So we've got the edit form added, but the edit form, what is the item that I wanted to show? Well, in this edit form, which is right over here, edit form, set item value to vertical gallery selected value. This vertical gallery is coming right over here. Let's see if it can go ahead and do that. It is working on it, it is thinking about it, and it went ahead and actually did that. I see this one which is coming in. So if I went and did a play, right over here, if I go and select it, it is automatically going and doing it. Again, this Power Effects function was not added by you and me. It was added by Copilot, and I told Copilot by natural language. I'll go and make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see what's going on. And so now I just want to add a few of it just to make it a little bit cleaner. So for this container one, I'll set the gap to 10 because I think I want to look at it a little bit better. So this is what the gap is looking like. In container 3, I want to go and set the gap to 15. That way, this will become a little nice and cleaner. See, that gap came up nicely over there. So with all this work already done, cleaning up is a lot easier. So if I go and do this container 2, I'm going to take the flexible width off. For actually this big container over here, I can go ahead and turn on the flexible width so it gets a little bigger. This section for the actual edit form, I can go ahead and change the columns to 1. These are easy clicking that I can do, but I could have also done this using the Copilot Studio. But hopefully you got the point, is that you can leverage Copilot, and as long as you communicate well with it, it is definitely going to save you some time. So wasn't that awesome? We pretty much built an almost fully functional screen with some design with the containers inside containers, a gallery, an edit form, and the edit was actually showing items based on the selected gallery. I mean, some of these required Power FX functions too, but Copilot automatically did that for us. So now do you understand what the true meaning of this Copilot is? Is that it is to actually provide you some assistance to actually make building the apps a lot more easier. And granted, you can take it at this advanced level so that you don't have to go and search for this property, like where is this property to add gaps over there? And how do I change? Is it a color or is it a fill? Like you don't have to go and figure any of that out. Just tell Copilot what you want to do and it'll go ahead and do that for you. That's the power of Copilot. So hopefully this video gives ideas for you to go ahead and test the limits of Copilot and start to kind of build your own little notes on how you can actually build an entire Canvas app using your communication with Copilot and very little clicking done by yourself. And as always, keep using Power Apps with Copilot. Hello, hello, hello. So if you like this video, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and smash that like button. Also, if you have a few extra seconds, can you go ahead and put in a comment? Either say something nice or give me ideas for my next video. And until then, see ya.